This is Fritz, and Fritz has some separation anxiety. Can you sit for me, buddy? He is not big on sitting. Sit. I should say he's not big on treats. I have really good treats. He is very tactile. He loves affection, and he has separation anxiety. In this video, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks to help a dog with separation anxiety. Now, dogs that have separation anxiety, can we sit again? Are basically, they go through like a panic state when they're left alone or they're away from a specific person. And this is usually a progressive thing that happens. And that certainly happened with him because he was fine at first and now he can't be left alone. He scratches and destroys things. And when they chew, they're not doing it intentionally. They're just freaking out and that dogs chew to self-soothe. So what I like to do, and I'm going to try to teach you how to do it. Yeah, I think he does have a cold because now I can see his nose is running. He is coughing a little earlier. So basically what I want to do when I have a dog with separation anxiety is to teach them to stay. And I'm going to explain why, but first I'm going to, while I have him here, because I don't think I'm at his attention span for much longer, I'm going to show you how to teach a dog to stay. I teach this dog to stay with the 3 Ds. First for duration, then for distance, then for distractions. Most people try to teach them all at once. Stay and they start walking away. That's too hard for the dog. So what we want to do is let's see if we can get you to sit. Can you sit for me? I'm just trying to keep it within 1 inch of his nose. Anytime you use a treat, you want to keep it about within 4 inches of his nose maximum. I'm trying to go back because I'm trying to facilitate him putting his butt down. For a lot of dogs, if they go up, they kind of sit. Now, I wonder if part of this might be because he's not, because this is hardwood floor. Come here, buddy. I don't want to manhandle too much. How about there? There we go. And he's a little bit of an older dog. All right, so basically for the stay for duration, what you want to do, there we go, look at that, sit. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. All right, so for a stay, I want to keep my hand with the treats behind my back. I'm going to do just for duration. So I have the hand behind my back, and I want him just to stay for 1 second. Stay, so when he's looking at me, Fritz, puppy, stay, and then I put it back to my breast, and I count to 1. When I give him the treat, stay. Anytime you're using a treat to motivate a dog, the dog should hear the command word and only the command word after the treat goes in their mouth. So now we'll go to 3 seconds. Stay. Stay. Now we'll try 6 seconds. Stay. Stay. Now, when I get done practicing, and always count in your head. So if he were to get up and move away and I was at 12 seconds, then I would go practice the next time at maybe 11 or 10 seconds, 1 or 2 seconds back. If you don't count in your head, you won't know what it is. So now we're done with the stay, and I want to communicate to him that we're done stay. We need to come up with a release word. I like using fun words, so I'm going to use this word. Parole. So what I do is I throw it, so he has to take 1 or 2 steps. I probably should have thrown it a little bit further away. So he has to walk away to get it. Then when the treat goes in his mouth, here's the word parole. So after a while, parole is my word that I'm no longer being asked to stay. Now, a lot of people teach a dog to wait when they're actually think they're teaching the dog to stay. Wait means wait until you hear the next command. Stay means stay until you hear one release word only, which is the word, in this case, I'm using parole. You can use release, break, freedom, any word you want. Just don't use the word okay. I've known 4 dogs who were killed because they were standing in Lincoln and talking to somebody else, and somebody said okay, and the dog jumped in and got killed by a car. It's a very commonly used word. Parole we don't use very often in most houses. Whatever you want to do. So basically, once I've got, and you want to keep on practicing the stay until you can get up to stay for 5 minutes. That's a long time. Now, when you're doing this at first, usually when you're doing training for a dog, you want to keep it less than 90 seconds. If an exercise is like this, where you're going beyond it, flop, then you want, that's a little passive training. Then you'll go beyond that 90-second window. But for my puppy that I showed you earlier, I had to spend a week doing 1 second stays because I started going to 2 seconds and he's like, why are you not giving the treat? And start doing other things, offering sit and shake and other things. So just sitting there not doing anything is actually pretty hard for dogs. Come here, buddy. Fritz, come here. This is better if you're on camera even if I'm not demonstrating. So we'll come over here, I'll just give you some attention. How about that? Come. Remember, always pet under the chin and then say just the command word. Come here, Fritz. You can shed on me a little bit more. So for what we want to do is we want to practice the stay in multiple short practice sessions throughout the day. So stay, do like 5 or 6 of them. I usually like, if I'm going to do 6 of them, I would maybe have 8 treats in my hand. He's not super treat motivated, so make sure they're really good treats. I'm going to leave you the treats that I'm using here. You can continue using those because he likes them. He's just not liking them as much as this. All right, so basically we do maybe 8 stays and 2 second, 4 second. The interval is going to change based on how well he does. But once you get up to like, say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and you're done, you throw the last one off to the side, and he goes and gets it, and you say parole. The next time you might go 3, 6, 9, 12. And so the idea is to gradually, very progressively make them a little bit longer for the stay. But if I go from 10 seconds to 30 seconds, and at 18 seconds he gets up, like I said, you want to back up a couple seconds where he was successful, because for the stay, he has to have a 100% success rate. Sit. You're going to lay down now? All right. Down. You're such a good boy. All right, so once you get to the point where you can have him stay for 5 minutes, and don't just practice here, practice in different places, but make sure he has a mat, because I don't think he likes sitting on the floor without cushion. So I think that'll help. So you want to practice a couple of times a day. And the idea is we want to get him to that 5-minute mark before we start moving away. Now, once we actually get to the point where we start moving away, I'm going to pantomime a little bit. Let's say that we're at that 5-minute mark. I would say stay, and then take 1 step back. And I'm only bending down so you can see us both. I would normally be standing up. And I'm going to count to 2. If I take 1 step back, I count to 2 while I'm paused here. Come back, give him another treat, stay, and then I might walk away this time 2 steps and count to 4. Now this is just my genesis point. I would alter it based on the dog, flop. And so the idea is you want to be able to get further and further away from the dog with the dog staying there. And it seems like the 5 minutes thing is superfluous. It's really an important mark. Don't start adding in distance until you can get to the point where he can stay for 5 minutes with you right this close. All right, so once you get to the point where you're doing distance, let's say that the dog is about 10 feet away from me over here. Let's say I'm walking to this point. Let's say that I could, so I walk in, the dog can still see me. I take a step out of the side, and then I come right back and give him that treat and say the word stay. So at first, when I step out of line of sight, I only step out of line of sight for 1 second, and then I'm coming back and I give him the treat. Then I walk backwards, and I usually don't start moving out of the line of sight until I'm at least 15 feet away from him, and he'll stay consistently. So then I'm going to step out of the line of sight for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. The Guardian has already started to achieve this, but she didn't have the fundamental 5-minute stay, so I want you to focus on that first. But eventually the idea is to get to the point where you can have him stay and then go downstairs and get your mail, or go downstairs and smoke a cigarette or whatever it is. And then we want him to practice staying for progressively longer and longer periods of time. Now, once the maximum for any dog that you need to practice any exercise is 2 hours. The dog can achieve it for 2 hours, it's good beyond that. So for the separation anxiety, for a lot of dogs, they freak out because, hey buddy, because we leave them, they hear things that happen, and they know that that means that it's going to happen again. I'm going to come over here and keep you on my lap just so you can have your cuteness for the rest of this video, at least until I take over the camera. So the idea is to help him practice staying. The Guardian says he follows him in the kitchen or the bathroom or wherever it is. So the idea is when you're going to go to the bathroom, put him in a stay, give him a job, go to the bathroom, do your business. When you come back, give him the release word, and then reward him. So now he's practicing being alone, hey buddy, and but he's doing it in easy capacity because he knows you haven't left, so he knows you're still here. When you start leaving, that's when the house, that's going to be even harder. Now, most of us do this, well, I'll just run a quick errand down the street. Well, if he freaks out, then he's practicing freaking out. So the idea for this process is you need to help him practice to stay and be able to stay successfully in a calm and balanced state of mind, because that's the state of mind we want him to practice. When I leave, I want you to be calm, not anxious that I'm gone. So once we get to the point where we're at 5 minutes, where we can be out of line of sight, and he can be in here while you're in your bedroom or vice versa for 5 minutes, then I would, and some dogs it might be a little bit longer, some dogs a little bit shorter. I would aim for 5 minutes of being away from him. Then I would start putting him in stay, going out and closing the door. Don't grab your keys. Don't put your shoes on, your sunglasses. Don't do all the normal things. I'm going to talk about those in a second. Just get up, walk outside, put him in stay, get up, walk outside, close the door, wait 1 second, come right back in, give him the release word. And then gradually elongate it to the point where he can stay outside the door there. Now their dog's hearing is much better than ours. He can hear you as you walk down the stairs to get to the street. So basically at first you just keep on doing it where you're out there. Then you take one, and if you get that security camera and you can watch him, that's great because you can see what he's doing. And the idea is we just leave for a second, then 2 seconds, and then 3 seconds, and longer and longer. Then we're going to start maybe loudly walking 1 or step up and down. I'm sorry, buddy, I'll hold you here. This is a little bit easier for you. And we're going to walk 1 step down the stairs, then walk back up and come inside. And when you come inside, just give him the release command and go sit down. And if he's getting up and wandering around when you're doing this, he's saying he's anxious. So that's why I put him into a stay, and we practiced having him stay with us out of the room, but now we're out of the room and out of the domicile. And then we're moving down the steps. The idea is to keep on practicing this until you can practice it when you're just sitting right downstairs. So that if he does panic or freaks out, you can come right back up and we mitigate the loss is very minimal. Or I don't say damage, but the practice of being freaking out. So the idea is he's going to gradually practice being alone for longer and longer periods of time. And we also talked off camera about a whole lot of other things. They're going to get ways to build in structure and little, I would say discipline. I don't mean a punishment, but just in terms of discipline, knowing, or control, maybe a better lack of word. Can't even talk right now. But basically, the idea is to get him to the point where he is comfortable. And I'm going to let you go. You're probably going to go sit on your bed. We'll see where you're going to go. Or maybe you're just going to hang out there. But we want to get to the point where we help him practice and just build up that confidence and that skill set of being alone. This is perfect. So now he's going to go LAY in his favorite place. Now, I would come up with a word for that, by the way. I would call it like Malibu or Venice or whatever you want to call it. Every time he goes there, just say the word. Passive training. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to shift cameras and I'm going to show, the guardian's going to go through kind of some of the things that she does that are triggers. A lot of dogs with separation anxiety, it's not just being alone. They start getting themselves worked up before you leave. She sat down there. When she sits there and put those shoes on, that means she's going to leave. Then she grabbed her purse. She grabbed her sunglasses. She grabbed her keys. She said goodbye. And then now, by the time you leave, the dog has worked itself up into a frenzy. So what we want to do for separation anxiety is we want to break the association. We call it disassociation or desensitizing. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the camera a second. I'm going to have the guardian go through practicing some of the things that she does that are associated with her leaving ritual. So I know that picking the keys is one. I believe squirting perfume is another one. And so the idea is I hear the smell of perfume and then she leaves. Well, now we're going to start doing that. We're going to waste a little perfume just for hanging out at home. But basically we're going to practice, spray the perfume and then go sit down. We're going to break that association. So now when I see her put perfume on, it doesn't necessarily mean she's got a hot date, she's leaving. It's just sometimes she puts perfume on. Sometimes she walks over and picks up her keys. So I'm going to go through these things. You're going to see, I'm going to kind of angle the camera over there so hopefully you will see both of them. We're starting with the keys. And basically what I'm going to have you do is if you can stand up and just kind of slowly shift the camera there so we'll have some good camera work since and there we go. Go down to the dog. All right. And there we go. All right. So this is Fritz, and you can see he's nice and hanging out. And I'm going to have the guardian just go ahead, actually grab a seat right there so you can see it. And then I'm going to have you just basically just get up, walk over to where your keys are, pick them up, and jingle them and put them back down. And perfect. And go, there you go. And go grab a seat. So he was alert. He watched that, but he didn't freak out. All right, let's go ahead and do it again. Pick it up, and then just pick them up and walk a couple steps towards the door. And jiggle the door handle. Actually, open the door and go ahead and just step out. And close the door. Yep. And come on back. Oh, there we go. Go ahead, come on in. Now you see that tail flutter when you're watching this later on. As soon as I see her, I'm happy again. So when you leave and when you come, don't make a big production out of it. Don't tell them goodbye. Just pick up your stuff and leave. And when you come home, don't make a big deal about you arriving home. Excited is not necessarily happy when it comes to dogs. I'm pretty sure in your case it would be. But we want it just to be a non-event. So every once in a while now she gets up, picks up her keys and walks out the door and then turns around, comes back and sits back down and nothing. And she didn't leave me. All right, let's, how far away is your perfume? Can you go grab it and bring it back? And just go ahead and give it a squirt. And then go, just put it on the shelf there, grab your keys and walk out the door again. And take a couple steps down the stairs. That's pretty good. I thought he would be panicking a little bit, but he's pretty relaxed. There we go. So where'd she go? There we go. All right, so he did okay, and you'll be able to watch him later on. But the idea, now I'm stacking these together. Normally I would not have you stack them together. I would just do the keys over and over and over again. So you're in the bathroom. Walk over, pick up your keys, jingle them, put them down, and go to the bathroom. So we want to create that association with other things as opposed to just you leaving. Same thing with your perfume, putting your shoes on, grabbing your bag, all the little things. We want to help him understand that just because he grabs your bag, and at first it's just grab the bag. Then it's grab the bag and the perfume. And then grab the bag and the perfume and the sunglasses. And and then she goes down the stairs. But each time you come back and it's no fanfare and the end of the world didn't happen. But I think that plus the other things we talked about, building his confidence through the passive training and petting with a purpose, and all those things are going to help. And so basically, if you go methodically at this, then you're going to be able to leave for progressively long periods of time. But again, I get a chair and just sit right outside. So if he panics or freaks out, you can come back home right away and keep practicing this in a long game. But he won't know if you're actually outside the house or if you're in your car and driving to Westwood or wherever it is. So the idea is to practice in a safe capacity while you're outside. So make a goal for yourself to try to practice this like 5 or more times a day for each one of the individual triggers. Make a list. And just maybe have Tara, you make a list of just, okay, I'm going to get ready. I want you, passive?
Sit.
And now down.
Down.
Perfect. So make a list of all the things that you do before you leave, and then you can systematically deprogram him by creating a positive association with all of those. All right, well normally I'm on camera for this, but this is Fritz. And these are some tips and tricks that you can use if you have a dog as cute as Fritz that has some separation anxiety.